Welcome. We are going to get started. First, some quick housekeeping. If you have any technical difficulties, please email charles@crwa.org or use the chat box. Hopefully, we've all been on enough Zooms by now to know where that is. And please note this webinar will be recorded. My name is Emily Norton, and I am the Executive Director of Charles River Watershed Association. CRWA was founded in 1965 by a group of people concerned about the pollution in the Charles, and we have played a leadership role ever since then in the cleanup of the Charles River. We are very passionate about jobs related to clean water, which is why we wanted to host this discussion tonight. First, I want to offer a special thanks to Amy Shen for her help in putting this webinar together as our intern over the summer. And we would love, if you would, please put into the chat your name, your town, and what drew you to this webinar tonight. We have 7 speakers over the next hour, so everyone's remarks will be pithy and to the point, and then we will open it up for Q&A for the last 15 to 20 minutes. You don't have to wait until the end to submit questions. You can also do that in the Q&A box at any time. The genesis of this event is that at CRWA, we were thinking about ways that we could do more to address systemic racism besides just calling it out. And we thought, well, the world of water jobs is something that we know something about, so let's pull together some smart people and see what sort of ripples we could cause. Get it? You have probably heard about the Green New Deal, which our own US Senator Ed Markey is a leader on. And the Green New Deal is about a lot of things, but one big thing is about making sure that as we move toward a more environmentally sustainable world and economy, that the benefits, especially in the area of jobs, are shared by all. I pulled this language from the Green New Deal legislation so that you can see for yourself. To secure for all people of the United States for generations to come, clean air and water, guaranteeing universal access to clean water. So a lot of water language in it, but also providing resources, training, and high quality education, including higher education to all people of the United States with a focus on frontline and vulnerable communities, prioritizing high quality job creation and economic, social, and environmental benefits in frontline and vulnerable communities. When it comes to green jobs or environmental jobs, usually energy jobs get the most attention, solar, offshore wind, energy efficiency, etc. But there are thousands of jobs related to the delivery of clean water, disposal of wastewater, and management of stormwater. Many of us don't think about those jobs on a daily basis, but we are all very happy that someone is doing them. But the infrastructure for all of those is old and in need of repair or replacement. According to the American Water Works Association, needed upgrades in just drinking water infrastructure alone will cost at least $1 trillion nationally. Here in Massachusetts, a 2012 report found a $20 billion backlog in water infrastructure needs, and it has only grown since then. On the bright side, these investments mean jobs. This Brookings report concluded many of the nation's water infrastructure assets are in urgent need of repair, maintenance, and restoration, yet the workers capable of carrying out these efforts are in short supply due to an aging workforce eligible for retirement and the lack of a pipeline for new talent. That's foreshadowing. And this EPA report said currently water utilities face challenges in recruiting, training, and retaining employees. These challenges are exacerbated with roughly 1/3 of the water sector workforce eligible to retire in the next 10 years. In fact, no joke, one of our panelists is going to retire this year. I don't think right after this webinar, but who knows? So the opportunity is there, but how do we capitalize on it? How do we ensure that those who disproportionately need jobs get to the pipeline to access them? To start us off, I'm going to turn to Mark Young. Mark is the executive director of the Lowell Regional Wastewater Utility. Mark, if you would, please share your story of how you got started in wastewater, what you do, what you like about what you do, and how you see the future of the field. All in 5 minutes. Mark, you need to unmute. There we go.
Thank you. In 5 minutes, I could talk for a lot longer, but I'll
do your best
to keep it short. How I got started in the environmental field. Actually, I was born in Lowell, been a Lowell boy all my life. And the Merrimack River runs through the city, and it's always been something that I've always been interested in and liked. However, as a child, you couldn't go near the river because it was so polluted. A big city like Lowell, industrial city, before 1980, actually before April of 1980, all sewage and wastewater went right into the river. And I remember as a kid falling into the river, and my mother panicked because I fell into this river. This was dirty, uh, and she made me take a shower, wash my mouth out with mouthwash, and I swear she wanted to take me to the hospital to get a tetanus shot. But cooler heads prevailed. But as a child, this bothered me that I couldn't go in swim in this river, couldn't fish in this river, couldn't use this river, even though I lived right next to it. So it's always something that I've always been interested in trying to make a difference here. So growing up, I geared my career towards the environment and started actually I actually got my wastewater license before I got my driver's license. And I took some courses in high school in wastewater treatment, and this really piqued my interest. This set me on the course that I wanted to do. It was the 70s. I was interested in the environment. I wanted to be an environmentalist. I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to clean the river in my town. I wanted to be able to have, at some point in my life, to be able to go down to that river and fish in it and swim in it. I started at the treatment plant in 1980, and I was just an operator. When I say just an operator, I don't mean that to put an operator down, because those are the guys that do the work at the treatment plant, operating the processes, doing the treatment, cleaning the water, putting it back into the river. And I worked my way up to being director, and now I'm the director of the water utility and the wastewater utility. So we're full circle. We take water out of the river, clean it so people can drink it, so industries can use it, businesses can use it. They take that wastewater, put it in the sink, the toilet, the bathtub, or their industrial processes, send it to the treatment plant, we clean it, put it back into the river. So you get that cycle of life. This field is an amazing field for a lot of reasons. If you're interested in the environment, if you have a mechanical background, if you are a college student, the environmental field, particularly water, wastewater, offers all kinds of challenges from field work, lab work. It offers opportunities for people that aren't interested in college or don't have a degree, maintenance work, and in operations, and in some pre-treatment work, laboratory work. If someone is interested in this, my advice would be to continue your schooling, get your degree, get your bachelor's. If you can get your master's, get your master's, because there's a lot of opportunities in the field, and there's going to be a lot more. You're going to have a substantial retirement problem in this field, because people my age and the people a little younger than me are going to retire. Just in the Lowell wastewater treatment plant itself, I've lost 3 people last year. I am going to lose 5 people within the next 2 years. And there aren't a lot of younger, enthusiastic people to fill those spots, where everything from just a GED all the way up to bachelor's degree. But I was very excited today because we offered a college student a job at the water plant, and she's just this dynamic person who's just going to excel in this field, and she accepted. So we already have starting the process of succession planning and getting some younger people into the treatment plant, which is what we need. But there is a lot of opportunity in the field. So I know I was watching the chat, and a lot of people who were coming on, were checking on board, were college students. You're the future of this generation. You're the future of our country. And if you have an environmental interest, you're the future of this field. Very important. I know it's a cliche to say it, but without water, we don't have anything. Nobody complains about water until the well runs dry. So we need water, and we need it to be clean. There's no excuse in the 21st century to have a river in our country that you cannot swim in and be able to fish in. And I can proudly say that Lowell has the Rhine Beach on the boulevard, which, as long as there's no CSOs, which is a combined to overflow, you can swim in it. And I have swam in that river many times. So that's something that I am proud to have been a part of, as well as all the other treatment plants along the Merrimack River and treatment plants in the United States. Thank you.
That was exactly 5 minutes. Thank you so much. That was perfect. Next, I'm going to turn to Don Kennedy, a trainer with NUIPIC, which offers trainings and certificates to help people get into the wastewater field. Don, I will ask you the same question. What do you do? How did you get into it? And also, please talk about what NUIPIC offers. And I think you have some slides.
Yes, I do. Thank you, Emily. Thanks for having me. You know, it's interesting listening to Mark. I've known Mark now in the field for many years, and he was talking about how he lived near the Merrimack River. And I also, I'm from Lawrence, but I lived on the street that was right across from the Merrimack River. And, you know, I know that I always say that back then, if you took the river water and you put it in a glass, it would look just like a cup of coffee that you'd take milk and you'd put it into it. It was exactly the same color. So I know what he's talking about. I've been employed in the wastewater field for over 40 years now. I've worked and I've managed both sanitary and industrial wastewater treatment processes. For the last 20 years, I've been a trainer for NUIPIC, and my focus is on wastewater collection and industrial wastewater treatment. How did I come to this field? I came through the back door. What happened was I went to college, and someday I wanted to teach. When I graduated from college, there weren't any teaching jobs. So during my junior and my senior year, during that summer, I worked as a plater. And I went back to the company where I was employed, and I says, you know, I'm looking for a job. And they said, well, we've got this brand new job in wastewater treatment. Well, I had no idea what wastewater treatment was. So, you know, nothing ventured, nothing gained. I took the job and I fell in love with it. I worked my way up. I got a grade 2 license, and I'll be talking about mass licenses too. Then I got a grade 4, and then I finally got a grade 6. And I was able to pursue the education, you know, along the way. And like I said, it was a very, very fulfilling field. And as Mark mentioned, there are so many different facets to wastewater treatment, and there's got to be something for everybody. So anyways, with that said, if you could bring up my slides, please, Shayla. And I'm going to first start out and just talk to you briefly about NUIPIC, who we are. If I could get the next slide, please. So this past summer, we went through a rebranding session. NUIPIC stands for the New England Interstate Water Pollution Control Commission, which is a mouthful, and we want to be known just as a NUIPIC, kind of like Geico. Geico wants to be known just as Geico. We want to be known as NUIPIC. And we work with the EPA and also the state environmental agencies. And if I could have the next slide, please. And the key areas of work that we focus on: connecting people in both the wastewater and the potable water field. We have some work that we deal with wastewater, with groundwater protection, training. I'm going to focus on training and show you some of the courses that we have online now. Education, we're into educating environmental professionals in different aspects of environmental endeavors and engagements. We obviously want to engage the people that we're dealing with so that we have a better planet. If I could have the next slide, please. And our mission to advance clean water in the Northeast. We deal with the New England states and New York. And our vision to clean and to create sustainable water throughout the Northeast. And our values: leadership, collaboration, education, service, and we always deal with science. If I could have the next slide, please. So wastewater training, Mark touched on it. If you want to get into the wastewater field, there's 3 general areas of concentration. There is municipal wastewater treatment, of which Mark is the executive director. And those are wastewater treatment plants that are in the cities and towns. And in some cases, we have sanitary districts. I was employed sometime in Lawrence at the Greater Lawrence Sanitary District. I worked through their plant startup there back in the 70s. And we sometimes refer to those plants as POTWs, which is publicly owned treatment works. And then we have industrial wastewater treatment. So if we have an industry, and depending on their process, they may create pollutants. And those pollutants have to be treated before they're discharged to a receiving stream, or they're discharged to the sewer that would come through a POTW. That deals with industrial wastewater treatment. And then we have wastewater collection. And wastewater collection is the sewage system, if you will, the network of pipes, catch basins, manholes, and pump stations that deliver the wastewater to the wastewater treatment plant. And the training that we have at NUIPIC, we have training from basic to advanced. We have many different courses, many different days of courses. And we also have specialty seminars, which would touch on the different aspects of those 3 areas of wastewater. If I get the next slide, please. So right now, typically, our training classes, our in-person classes, they're typically 6 weeks long. What we're doing now is with the COVID, we don't have any in-person training, and we do offer distance learning. And if I could go to the next slide here. If you are interested in our distance cleaning, you could go to our website at nuipic.org and click on the training link. And if you go to the next slide, here's just a handful, if you will, of some of the courses that we'll be offering this fall and this winter. And you can see there's many different courses that pertain to the 3 type of endeavors that we have in wastewater treatment. And those sessions, they're either 2 or 3 hours. And like I said, we'll be having more also. And if I could have the next slide, please. So if you are interested in working in the field, I would highly recommend that you go to our website at nuipic.org, and you can click on the training tab, and if you go to that first link right there, that is a great tutorial to tell you specifically how you can further your education in order to get a foothold, if you will, in the wastewater treatment field. The second one pertains to information to become a mass wastewater treatment plant operator. One thing that's interesting about Massachusetts certification program is there are no prerequisites to testing for any of the levels, whether it's municipal wastewater treatment or industrial wastewater treatment. And you can test for those. And if you pass the exams, you would get a when and if certification. And what that means is you pass the exam, and for whatever particular level you took, there are certain experience requirements. And when you satisfy those requirements, you would write a letter to the certification board and you would get full certification. So that's kind of a advantage that if you want to get into the field, that's kind of an advantage if you go the Massachusetts route. And if I could have the next slide, please. And so I'm going to turn it back over to Deshayla.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Don. Next, we're going to turn to Justin Pimpare. Justin runs the US EPA's Youth in Environment program, which provides an opportunity for 4 to 6 students from Lowell and Lawrence to intern at a wastewater treatment plant and do everything from painting and plumbing to taking BOD samples and learning about aeration basins. And there are also field trips, I believe. Justin, please take it away.
Great. Thank you, Emily. It's ironic to, I think, Emily, you might have a case of ESP here, not knowing, putting me after Don and now listening to Mark. I knew Mark's history, obviously, with Lowell. I didn't know that Don had actually grew up and had ties to Lawrence, Massachusetts, because I actually graduated and grew up. I grew up and graduated from Lawrence High School. And then after I graduated from Lawrence High School, I decided to go really far away for college. And I decided to go 5 miles up the Merrimack River all the way to the lovely city of Lowell and graduated from the University of Lowell. So it's ironic here, thinking 35 years after almost 35 years after I've graduated from high school, that I am now back overseeing these youth in the environment programs in these 2 cities, the city that I grew up in and also a city that I graduated from college in. So it's been a very humbling experience, and thank you, Don and Mark, for your support over all these years. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the Youth in the Environment program. I want to give full kudos to NUEPIC, and particularly Tom Groves and his staff, which includes Don, with respect to this this presentation. And actually, Tom had put this together a while ago, and we've been on the circuit a little bit trying to promote this Youth in the Environment program. The program started in 1990. It was an EPA headquarters initiative, EPA headquarters being out of Washington, D.C. It's a national focus. Lowell, Massachusetts was one of the original sites. If we have any politicos in the audience, I'll give a little plug here. Our national funding for this program has unfortunately gone by the wayside. We kick the tires each year for funding of the program. So it doesn't cost a lot of money. It's a few $1,000s to actually run the program. But we continually have to ask our federal government, and me being as a federal official, asking our EPA headquarters office for minimal money here to run these particular programs, and they're extremely worthwhile program. So the goal here really is to introduce underprivileged high school students, provide them with career opportunities in the environmental field. And when we talk about hands-on experience, that hands-on experience is placing these students, high school students, at wastewater treatment plants and now drinking water plants in Lowell and Lawrence, Massachusetts. And really, we're just trying to increase the awareness of the students. But as pointed out by Emily earlier in the EPA wastewater article that you saw, it's really to help meet the future regional workforce needs in our water and wastewater fields. Unfortunately, I am not the individual on this panel that's going to be retiring in the next year. I really wish that I was, but I'm not. But as you have continually heard here, we are losing the workforce of our operators across treatment plants, and having young, energetic staff replacing those individuals would be a great goal. So we continue to strive for that. The program has been around for 27 years in Lowell. Thank you to Mark Young and his staff, the City of Lowell, the Lowell Career Center, and of course EPA there. We ran it every year with the exception of 2008 and 2009, only due to the lack of funding. This past year would have been our 30-year anniversary of the program. However, due to the pandemic, we unfortunately were not able to run the program. Last year that we had run the program in Lawrence, Massachusetts, we had this is the first year we expanded it beyond Lowell and now running at the Greater Lawrence Sanitary District. So kudos to Sherry Cousins and her staff, the executive director over at GLSD. And we have for the first time now combined the drinking water component into the field. So now have students and summer intern placed at the drinking water and wastewater plant. The only other program in the entire region is that for Youth the Environment program is operated by the New York City Bronx Community College, and that's in our EPA Region 2. program. And again, that's only been around for about 20 plus years. So Region 1 here is a staple for the program. Here's a picture of, we go on a lot of field trips, and I'm going to get to those in a minute. The picture on the left is some of the students collecting some samples at the Lowell Regional Wastewater Treatment Plant. The picture on the right there, which I'll get to in a little bit on one of the other slides, is taken on one of the top of the sludge digesters at the Massachusetts Water Resource Authority, otherwise known as MWRA or Deer Island in Greater Boston. It's the second largest wastewater treatment plant in the entire country. And I'm in the middle there with the gray windbreaker on, the bunch of students in the back, and some NUIPIC staff in the front. And actually on the bottom right there, the female with the gray t-shirt, Kale Doherty, she was actually the summer intern for the NUIPIC program, I believe in 2018. And after the program, she was hired full-time by NUIPIC. So kudos to NUIPIC, and just another example about some of the students that go through this program and actually get hired on into the field. Typical program is we bring in 4 to 5 high school students. These are kids, sophomores, juniors, seniors, 15, 16, 17 years old. We place them directly at the wastewater treatment plant. It's a 6-week program. These students must meet some certain financial eligibility requirements. The city pays the students, and NUIPIC again hires the summer intern. So the opportunities here for youth are high school students, again, placed at the wastewater treatment plant, as well as a college student. Doesn't have to be specifically studying to work at the wastewater treatment plant, just an environmental major. And some of the kids that we've got some, and Mark can attest to this, we've had some amazing students over the years. The kids, a lot of them are from vocational schools, and they're not really so much looking to take over the operations of the treatment plant, but within the treatment plant, we have a lot of pumps, etc., and a lot of electricity. So some of the students working at the vocational schools are looking to become plumbers or electricians. And ironically enough, the last year we ran the program in Lowell, I was talking to one of the students, and I said, "How did you get involved in this?" And he said, "Oh, well, I want to be a plumber." And he said, my dad works here at the treatment plant. So I thought that was a great story there. So the students typically work about 25 hours a week. Again, they're placed at the treatment plant. They do many different types of operations in the morning. They have environmental lessons in the afternoon. We do go on a lot of field trips. I show this slide here not to tell everyone about the smell at the wastewater treatment plant. This is the very first day. And I think the kids were putting on a little act for us here. The guy on the left here said, "I don't smell anything at all." And this was like after 5 minutes, but you become immune to it. It's a wastewater treatment plant. It's designed to remove human waste, and Lowell does a great job over there. So they got over this one quick. I think they just posed for the picture. And I always ask the students, "What do you like to invest at the end of the summer?" And they do many different types of things, as Mark had alluded to. They work in the laboratory. They love that on the hot summer days because it's nice and air conditioned in there. But this student on the left here is basically taking what's really a fire hose and just spraying down one of the clarifiers here. A lot of algae builds up on the side there. So he's basically just hosing down the side of the clarifier. And for some reason, the kids love it. This is like one of their favorite things to do. Again, they learn all about the inner workings of the wastewater treatment plant. They learn the skills behind it, the plumbing aspect, the engineering, the electrical components of it. They also go out in the field quite a bit and do some industrial user inspections. As I mentioned earlier, it gets hot, so there's students here learning from the chemist in the laboratory. It's nice and air conditioned in there. The bottom picture here is some of the students on the last day. We have a graduation program, and the students give a little overview and a PowerPoint presentation on what they learned during the summer events. We go on a lot of field trips. It's only a 6-week program here, so you do the math. There's usually at least one field trip per week here. And so we've been to the aquarium, Deer Island, Squam Lake, etc. And then actually we've been to the Charles River to do some chestnut harvesting. And here you see a picture on the right-hand side here. This was taken probably, I don't even know I don't know if that's Jake Plummer from the NUIPIC staff, or it's one of the Charles River Watershed Association staff members, but kids go out on the canoes there, and they pick some of the chestnuts there and bring them back for monitoring, etc. So again, this is a picture of one of the field trips of Deer Island, and I'm rushing because I know I'm low on time here. I could talk about this all day long. In the end of the summer, we actually conclude with a graduation ceremony, and the students actually lead a full tour of the wastewater treatment plant at the end. This is a picture of the graduation ceremony. And Mark Young there on the right looking dapper, and Sherry Cousins on the left there in the back row, the executive director of the Greater Lawrence Sanitary District, and all the students involved in the program. They get these nice plaques, certificates from EPA. We invite their parents, siblings, family members, anyone they really want to the graduation ceremony, and we give full kudos to them. So it's a great program. We hope to have this back again next year in 2021. And again, I can't speak enough of the program. It's a great program. Looking forward to running it again in 2022 or 2021, hopefully.
2021,
Fingers
yeah.
crossed.
We hope things get back to normal. Thank you. Thank you so much, Justin. Next, I'm really excited to introduce Charlotte Lyosir, who directs the PTech program at IBM. This is not a program related to water. It's related to technology, but it's had some pretty impressive results helping kids get a foothold into good careers. And we will hear from one of them as well. Charlotte.
Thanks so much, Emily. I'm just going to share my screen. You know, when you can see it.
Yep.
All good. Thanks. And you can hear me. Great. Yeah. So just like you said, Emily, I'm not here to talk about water, but I feel like I can make the pun that I'm here to talk about pipelines. So PTech is an education model that IBM founded in 2011. So I actually work for the big tech giant IBM in the capacity of corporate social responsibility, which is our philanthropic sector or division at our company. So PTech at its core, it stands for Pathways in Technology Early College High School. And it's a public-private partnership that combines existing public high schools with community colleges and then industry partners. And together, it creates a 6-year integrated curriculum where students are taking both their high school coursework and their college coursework at the same time towards a STEM associate's degree, while also getting industry workforce development experience from the industry that they're partnered with. So, at its core, it's this, we sometimes say, a 3-legged stool where it's high school, college, and industry coming together to really pad a pipeline that we know has a lot of cracks for students to fall through. We expect students to be able to move from high school to college, through college, from college to industry, all on their.
I don't want to interrupt. Can you put your slides into presentation mode?
Oh, sure.
Easier for everyone to see.
Sorry. Better?
Perfect. Thank you. We can see Abdullah easier.
I know. It's like, is he in this picture?
He claims he is.
Oh, Abdullah, you'll have to show me where you are. Oh yeah, I see you, top row, second in from the top. Okay. So, it's basically combining these 3 historically siloed institutions that are kind of supposed to work together in an attempt to say, to create sort of an answer to 2 issues. There's an issue on the industry side, which is about diversity and equity and inclusion. We know that there are not equal opportunities for students of color to join the tech workforce or the STEM workforce, but we also know that there's a lot of inequity built into the education systems as well. So trying to kind of identify how to solve collectively both those issues with one solution is where PTech comes. And so, I think this is kind of coming up as people are talking about, like, folks retiring and the new world of work and what this is going to do to society and to the economy. And, right now we're actually like in this 4th industrial revolution. You can see on the bottom, we talk about like the 80s and, the 60s and all the way through to here we are, artificial intelligence. People think robots are going to take over the world. And I don't think that's going to happen. But what could happen while we start to automate out a lot of roles is that we also threaten to exacerbate this existing inequality and the growing skills gap. At IBM, we've actually stopped talking about this as a skills gap and are now really talking about this as an opportunity gap. The idea that it's not that there are individuals who don't have the right, they're not trainable or we're not able to skill them up, but really just that they maybe haven't had the opportunity to gain those skills and to practice those skills and to apply those skills. And so this is the core of P-TECH. It's pretty involved, so I'm going to try to keep it as high level as possible in the short amount of time. But it has 6 design principles. And so at the very beginning, like I said, it's that partnership between school, higher ed, and industry, all coming together as equal partners. So this is not a philanthropic solution for a structural issue. This is IBM actually helping to create a structural solution for a structural problem, coming together as like a full partner. We're not donating computers. We're not writing grants, as much as those things matter. That's not what this specific solution is about. It's really about being a full partner. And that comes into play a lot with this 6-year model and this integration of the high school and college coursework, because it's all backwards linked to a skills map into the industry. And so basically what happens is an industry partner comes to the table, agrees to be part of this model, and starts to identify the skills that are hireable in their industry in those entry-level jobs. So really looks at HR data, looks at skills data, looks at sort of future trends and decides what are the skills that graduates from this program are going to need to be employable. And not just those academic and technical skills, but also those professional or soft skills that we know that students are going to need to practice so that when they're done, they really can be successful upon entry. And so, the industry sits down with the educators and really talks backwards in terms of alignment for those skills. The next one is cost-free. So this is a completely cost-free model. It's a public education model, meaning not only are students not paying for the college degree, but they're also not paying for textbooks. They're not paying for transportation. They're not paying for any of it. It's all covered by the public, institutions in which we're partnered with here, which is usually the governor level buy-in that we need. And the next thing is that it's open enrollment with a focus on historically underserved or underrepresented students. This is really important. This is why P-TECH was started. And the idea here is that we're actively, strategically seeking out communities that we know have been underserved by both public education and by the boom of the tech sector. Workplace learning is the kind of third strand in our DNA, as we often say. So there's, the high school education that's happening over 6 years. There's the college education that's happening over 6 years. And then kind of spun into that is this idea of workplace learning. Sometimes you might hear it called work-based learning. But it's really this idea of the industry providing opportunities for students to practice and apply the skills that they're learning in school with real industry professionals. So they get industry mentors, work site visits, job shadowing, project days. Sometimes we'll have speaker series. And the big kind of other component here is the paid internship. So every student gets the opportunity to have a paid internship in their junior year of high school. So 16-year-olds coming to work at IBM or any other big company or small company that's partnered with this model. And that's a big moment of really making the future opportunity here much more tangible to students, and so that they really get to see that, apply what they're learning in real time and see the world in real time. But it's also an opportunity for the companies that are part of this initiative to be able to kind of reconcile some of their own biases, maybe about students who are getting an associate's degree in applied science, at a community college versus some other kind of candidates that they might think, might be their first thought when they're thinking about hiring graduates. The last one is first in line for jobs. And that's just the promise of students being prepared for and getting an opportunity to interview at the company. So it's not a promise of a job, but it is a promise of an interview and preparation for that interview. And so far, it's a 6-year model. We started in 2011 with just that one school and have been growing. I'll talk a little bit about growth in a second, but our first graduating class from Brooklyn, the school that Abdullah went to, and he can speak to it also, graduated 4 times the national on-time average for community college graduates. And that number gets even bigger when you kind of drill down to demographic data. So, our P-TECH network is growing. We have over 260 schools now. We're in 25 countries, and we have over 600 industry partners. So even though IBM created this model in 2011, and many of the schools are IBM affiliated schools, it's very much an open source kind of opportunity. We have tons of industries across the STEM umbrella in health, in environmentalism, environmental sciences, in advanced manufacturing, in business, that all kind of fall into this network. And on the left-hand side here, you'll see that you can, check out more stuff about P-TECH. There's also something called Open P-TECH that I wanted to mention, which is our free online platform where we don't have brick and mortar schools. This is a great opportunity for students to get some actually industry recognized badges for LinkedIn from IBM that are in emerging tech skills and tech, tech areas, but also in those professional skills. And that's really it from me. I think, Emily, my last pitch is just that we do not yet have P-TECH in Massachusetts. And part of that is because we, as I said, it's a publicly funded initiative, and we work at the state level in order to implement this in new states. So just to say, if anyone is interested in kind of discussing the potential of bringing this model to you, I'd be happy to chat.
Oh, good. And I didn't have to tee that up for you to say it all anyway. That's great. That worked. Thank you so much, Charlotte. Next, I'm going to introduce Abdullah Saleh, who went through the P-TECH program. Abdullah, if you would please talk about why you joined, where you are now, and what the program has meant for you in your life.
Sure thing. Hi guys, my name is Abdullah Saleh. I'm 21, P-TECH alum, and now I work at IBM. So P-TECH, the way I got in was kind of tough. Literally at the end of middle school, I was kind of struggling to figure out where I was going to go to high school. And P-TECH being a public school is very, very important to like my journey through P-TECH. I didn't get into most of the schools that I wanted to get into, but I knew I was very interested in technology. So when I found out about the P-TECH program, or when my mom found out, I was excited. I was like, yo, this is a risk because the school at that point has only been open for like 3 years. So they didn't even have a graduating class, but I was really with it. And it was inside of a neighborhood that, I was comfortable in, even though it didn't seem like the best, but there's a lot of people's. So right after that, joined through P-TECH. I got to really see the program start up and feel the growing pains, but like really grow with it. So first few years it was just us getting to learn about the industry, getting to see the company in person, and then finding out about all the opportunities that are open and available to us. And it was very like eye-opening for a change. So up until now, my interest in technology has only been as a hobbyist. And then going through the school, I was like, yo, this is dope. I could actually do this for a living. So in my third year, I got an internship in IBM, and that was super exciting. That was like my first time ever in the industry, getting to see what it looks like to do this hobby in real life, and getting to see all of my friends actually do the internship with me and do a bunch of cool projects. So that was just amazing. The program overall focused on like us getting big support. And that's probably one of the biggest things that I got out of the network or the P-TECH program, was this really huge network and support. And that gave me like, I would say a lot of like comfortability and
When you say
freedom.
support, what do you mean by support?
Network support. So like, as far as the alumni, I get to know that, they're definitely gonna go to some cool places, but also we have access to many mentors from whatever industry partner we have. Our partner was IBM. So every year we would have a mentor program where some mentors would come to the school, chop it up with us. It wouldn't even have to be about, specifically the field. It could just be about our interest. But like throughout that whole time, we got to pick up a lot of new mentors and just see a bunch of people who already tried and did what we're trying to do. Also, after going through my internship, I got to meet and learn from a lot of people that worked within the company. One of the people that I met during the company then actually introduced me to data science, which is the role that I'm in now. And that was kind of the goal that I had when I graduated from PTech back in 2017. So the support that I got from them is ongoing completely. It's Charlotte, for example, since the first time I met her, has always been supporting like some of the ideas that I've had and continues to try to nudge me into the right direction or help me see opportunities that I might not have seen because I didn't have access to those before then.
What is data science?
So data science is, well, using data and leveraging data to make really key business decisions. So that's kind of like the weird textbook definition. For me, it's you give me a bunch of data, no matter what it is, I'll find something cool in it. And this is cool because within almost any field, we've gotten so much information on it within the last 10 years. Like 90% of the world's data has been created in the last 10 years. And to silo through all of that and figure out what would be insightful, what would be dope for people to consume, or what would help people the most within all of that data, kind of is what my role is to me. Yeah. And so one thing that I did, like I touched on it just a little bit, but the fact that PTech is public is like amazing. Like I really wasn't gonna get into any other high school. So like and I have a lot of other students who had similar stories. So we went into that school and there was a lot of people who, you know, we might not have had the confidence just then and there when we were inside of the school and or like before then, because we didn't really think that we were gonna get into any good schools, quote unquote. Going through a public university and a public school and getting to see a lot of people there to support us really helped us build not only confidence, but also like a good foundation for us to have some comfort when we were going forward. As soon as I graduated from the school, because I went to PTech, I felt like I had a nice, not really head start, but a nice like starting off point that I didn't feel worried about some of the risks that I took. Because I went to PTech, I got a 2-year degree in under 4 years. And I got experience within the industry that I want to go into. So when I went to college, I got to take the risks that I wouldn't have taken otherwise. Took the classes that I thought might not be part of the major, but would be dope. Got to go to events that, you know, this might not help me right away, but I have this like cool background already that lets me, you know, step into rooms, talk to people, have people that are interested, and also be confident in my skills enough to, when I know that opportunity is going to present itself, I'll be able to body the opportunity. And also I get access to a lot of opportunities because of PTech. Like I said, the support network is crazy. There probably isn't a single role within IBM, our industry partner, that I feel like I won't be able to find some information on and or feel like I could probably get an interview in. And one of those is an internship that I did last year in Boston. My first ever experience within data science,
You're
like
in
professionally.
Boston?
Actually not Boston, sorry. Massachusetts, it was in Littleton.
Littleton.
Yeah. So I was in Littleton for like 3 months. Well, I was living in Somerville going all the way to Littleton. But I got to like experience Mass in its whole. So
Yeah.
went to Littleton, Cambridge, a bunch of cool spots. Got to do a lot of cool work. Got to meet a lot of cool people that live out there. And you know what? I definitely want to visit again.
That's great. So your life with PTech, without PTech.
Yeah.
What's the difference?
Well, it's more like my life with PTech is more structured than the goals that I had. So I could focus mainly on the end goal or like kind of the direction I want to head into and know for a fact that I'll have people there to support me and like help me get into that industry. So, or wherever that goal is. I would say like one of the best descriptions of PTech, and this was one from my well, what's the word? Principal. Wow. Our principal, Rashad Davis, describes it as like one of the disruptors to the school to prison pipeline. And seeing a lot of people who, you know, might have gotten caught through that, having all of that opportunity from PTech, and like I said, that comfortability and confidence in our skills at the end of PTech really felt like that pipeline wasn't there for us. We had opportunities that or other pipelines to jump onto, like one's straight into IBM, or one's into better colleges, or one's into less costly colleges because we have a lot of college credits so far. And so that it definitely PTech came with more structure for us. They gave us like, hey, you have a goal. These are the clear steps to get it. These are the people to talk to. Even now, like even outside of the program now, the network that I built from PTech has like always given me the opportunity to find and talk to the people that I want to talk to.
Wow. That was very helpful. Thank you, Abdullah. Next, I'd like to bring it back to Massachusetts and introduce Aaron Dale, who is a crew leader with Excel Conservation Corps. Excel's mission is to make high school completion, post-secondary study, and sustainable career paths more accessible to underserved communities in Greater Boston. The Conservation Corps does that in the area of water conservation and wastewater management, and CRWA actually does quite a bit of work with Excel. Aaron, please talk about what you do, your path to this work, and what Excel Conservation Corps offers the young people that you work with.
Sure. Hello, everybody. I just want to share my screen, show you, it's just what I have in the background, just to kind of give you guys some insight into the work that we do here. Is that fine, Emily?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I believe you should see that now. Okay.
Yep.
So my name is Aaron Dale. I'm the program coordinator and crew leader for the Excel Conservation Corps. That name is very tricky because we call ourselves a conservation corps, and we are a conservation corps. We work mostly around water conservation, with water quality, water monitoring, and some benthic sampling and E. coli sampling. And what we're specifically trying to do is find the youth in Boston, Massachusetts, Dorchester, Roxbury, Mattapan, and connect them with the level 2 or the wastewater operator training, or just the wastewater operator training. So the way I go about that is we go out into the field, I go out into the community with flyers, literally explaining, are you interested in wastewater operating as a career, or do you meet this? Do you have your license? Do you meet these certain requirements? And they reach back out to me, and we go through a interview process, and we onboard them through that. The way I got here is we started before Excel was doing the wastewater training classes or the Excel Conservation Corps. We started out as just doing high set classes. We realized that there wasn't a pathway for youth to just enroll into GED classes in Boston that were flexible for their time restrictions, their life always interrupting restrictions. And so what we did was come up with a program that has an ongoing enrollment and different sites and locations and hours to meet individuals who, have tough times, getting back into high school or, their GED. And so out of that, we did a good job with, hitting our numbers with GED every year. And so we realized that, the GED is just not enough. Nobody's going to feed a family off of GED in 2020, and Excel's been around since 2003. And so they started transition over to post-secondary placement, doing more work in post-secondary connection. So what that means is, like, let's say after an individual would get their high set, they come back here, and we then start the process of the FAFSA, getting your records together, all your financial information together between you and your mom or whoever is the breadwinner in the household that's going to have to produce their FAFSA, their tax information, and then explaining that whole process to that person who probably has no idea what you're asking them for, and then placing that person into Bunker Hill, Roxbury Community College, the local colleges in and around Boston. And that was our post-secondary focus. Then we realized that wasn't enough. Individuals will get into high school, they get into these places, and then they just they kind of Twitter out. It was just like sometimes they have work going on, sometimes they have kids, sometimes they have so many other things that took their focus away from college. And then we can say, just stick in there, just do what you got to do. But it doesn't work for certain people, you know? And it's really, the equity is realizing that, you know, and that's what I feel like. And so it's like, what we did is, you know, or what came about, there was like, I forgot exactly how it happened, but there was a little bit of research. There was some federal money that came together, and they came up with this program called the Connection Center. And that's where I got hired, and that's where I come in. I was a post-secondary coach, or what the official title was, a success coach. We were going out in the community, connecting individuals with post-secondary short-term training programs that would allow them an entry-level position, and then hopefully allow them to, you know, level up in their job. Realized that wasn't enough. You know, one thing we realized that, you know, it's good to get these short-term trainings and these certificates, but then once they got there, there wasn't much in the way of the next job up. You know, it was entry level, and it was like, oh, you know how to check this box all day. You know what I mean? And then it was next to you know, the pay was stagnant after a while. You know, it was like, oh no, this is all we need you to do. And after a while, we can replace you with a machine. So why would we pay you so much more? And so it was like, it was these jobs that we were finding that just wasn't enough. They were sustainable, but they really just were, they were, you know, jobs that didn't make people really feel great in the morning when they woke up and saying, you know what, I'm doing something, or I'm making a difference, you know? And as I was a coach, connecting all the youth with these different training programs, and then seeing the result, it gave me my own feeling about it, you know. And so what I said to myself, or I was presented with an opportunity to actually do a program similar to the Connection Center, where we were connecting people. And one of the pillars of the Connection Center was that it was low barrier to access. It didn't take a lot of money or investment for the student to actually get started within the training. And then it was it was a training where it was a entry-level position, and it would allow them to, you know, level up. But then the level up wasn't really where, or advance, really wasn't always working out. And so we spotted the wastewater training certificate or licensing for as a way to, you know, get over that hump of, first, it's low barrier to access. You know, you only need to get your license. You can study that on your own. What we did was we created our program where we take individuals and we train them for 7 weeks for the level 2 municipal license. And that was our way of eliminating most classes that you find for this, you wouldn't find centrally around the Boston area. And so what we did was we came up with that program. What we have now is a 10-week program where we give 7 weeks of classes, 2 weeks of review, and then they sit for their final exam, which is a level 2 wastewater operator's license. I feel like I'm leaving something out. And so that's kind of how we came here. You know, we realized, we saw that this was one of those careers that had a low access, and then actually, as the guys got in and they earned their level 2 wastewater license, they can study again, go back for a level 3, study again, go back for a level 4, study again, demand a lot more at a level 4, at a level 5, 6, 7. And these are not classes where they're you know, these are not jobs where they're expected to, you know, do 4 years of college and then hope after they get out that, you know, the job market hasn't changed, you know, because it's always going to rain, and, you know, the toilet's always going to flush, you know. So it's a job where we can never really run out of work. What we hope to do right now, and how we hope to grow is, you know, right now what we're doing is only doing level 2 municipal wastewater training classes. And we've actually been successful with Woodard and Curran and placing some interns there. But what we hope to do, moving into industrial classes and finding more industrial employer partners to work with to move our guys into those areas, because we realize we can graduate 18 guys a year. There's not going to be 18 positions open a year. And so we have to find other areas, the drinking water side, the industrial side, to move our guys into, so that, you know, this, that we're fulfilling our side of the promise, you know, that we say you come here for 10 weeks, you take these 7 weeks of courses, you review, and then you take this final test at the end of these 10 weeks. After everything we're asking them to do, that we can then do what we say we're going to do, is just, you know, connect them with some viable options for actual employment afterwards. Yeah, that's basically what we do.
That is super helpful, and the photos were everything. You know, that was makes it very real to see the students in the photos. And you kept saying guys, but I think women participate in this as well.
Yes, we do.
Yeah,
Yes, we do.
I've seen the photos.
I make sure I got one in my. I really love the women in this, you know. So I got a rep for you guys, you know.
Very good, very good. Well, thank you so much, Aaron. And
Thank you.
last, but definitely not least, I would like to introduce Brandon Sia, who some of you may recognize from news coverage when he was the valedictorian of his class at Dorchester Academy. Brandon is a graduate of the Excel program and is now working at a company, but I will let him tell his own story. Brandon, would love if you could talk about why you joined Excel, what it has done for you, and what you are doing now.
Brandon, you're on mute.
Hi, you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So after I graduated high school, I decided to try college. I want to see how it was. I always want that college experience. So I was at Benjamin Franklin for about a year, and I was studying computer engineering technology. I wasn't really feeling it. It wasn't really my thing. I kind of switched positions. First I did that, then I did electrical engineering. And then I switched to another one. I don't even remember it. I was just switching different college courses. So I decided maybe to go to a different college, and I went to Bunker Hill to study business and entrepreneurship. And I mean, it was okay. The first semester was okay. And then the second semester, I was like realizing this is something I want to do. So I was kind of stuck. I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I had this, I call her like a life coach. She's not really a life coach. She's more like a, how do you call it? I don't know how to explain her. She's more like a guidance counselor, except she works outside of.
Like a mentor?
Yeah, you could say something like that. But she mainly focuses on careers, like finding careers for people who are in or leaving high school. So I contacted her and I told her I didn't really know if college was for me. So we were looking at some different trades that may collect my interest. And then she emailed me, it was about, I want to say March or April, about this program called Excel Conservation Corps. And she was telling me how they had a wastewater program. And when I heard water, that automatically got my attention because I love water. I love to swim. I'm always in the shower for like hours, and just water always catches my attention. So after talking to her, we were looking on a website and we thought this may be a good idea. So I immediately signed up, and within about a day or two, Aaron Dale reached back out to me and we talked on the phone. We did an interview. And then I would like to say about a week or two later, after, of course, doing the phone interview, I think we did a Zoom interview as well. We decided it would be good for me to come in. And this is when he was still in his, I think, spring session. But I went there one day to see if I would like it. And I thought it was pretty interesting. It was definitely different than what I thought in my head, but I said, you know what, this may be interesting. Let me give this a shot. So I told him, yeah, I think I'd be interested to move forward for the summer session. And when I got in, I had a great experience. But first, before I even say that, let me go all the way back, because there were some qualifications that I needed for this job that Aaron helped me get. For instance, I needed to get my permit and then my license. Aaron worked with me like in the beginning I had the book, but I never really read it. But I was like, okay, if I need this, let me really stay focused. And I want to say twice a week, me and Aaron would go on Zoom and we would do study practices together. So
This is for your driver's license.
this is for the permit first.
For the permit. Yep, learner's permit. Okay.
And it went pretty well. It went pretty well. We studied for about a couple of weeks. I want to say 2 or 3 weeks. And first I was nervous because he said, okay, we're going to study for 2 weeks and then we're going to book you for the permit test. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. But this was actually good because I needed to, this is my first time where I'm actually trying to reach a goal, And he was straightforward with me. He said, if you put in the effort, we'll put in twice as much effort for you. So he did tell me within a certain amount of time I needed to have it by then. So I was nervous, but we did it in 2 weeks and it was honestly amazing. Like we would spend about an hour and a half each day just reading as well as practicing online. So I went in and I got my permit right away. I passed. And then they also got me into driving school as well. So that's one thing that I really liked about this program as well, is they made sure I had all the steps in order to do good in this field. So I ended up getting my license thanks to them helping me get into driving school. They covered half the costs, which was amazing. And I got my license. I got my car within the same month as getting my license. So yeah, but back to the program itself. We did a lot of field trips as well. I want to say every week we did
What happened
stuff.
on your first field trip? What happened on your first field trip?
My first field trip, I got caught.
A work project.
I got caught in some quicksand and I went all the way deep in.
No.
Yeah, no, it was embarrassing. I didn't think it was gonna be there. I actually did it a couple times that day. Yeah.
Okay, for all of you students watching, you will survive entering the wastewater field.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I'm kind of a big guy too, so Aaron was trying to pull me, and while I'm trying to get up, I'm kind of yanking him, so he's trying to go back and forth.
It wasn't working.
Yeah.
And you went back for the second day after that. That's amazing.
It was funny, but it was a good learning experience. I'd say all the little slip ups and mistakes I made is good because it prepared me for the next time we go over there. So I knew, okay, let me not stand over there.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed our field trips. We did a couple things. We did like bug sampling. So we would go out to different rivers and we would like take samples. And we were doing that to basically test the quality of life of the water and stuff, how healthy is it? It might be nasty to think that there are bugs in the water, but that's actually kind of a good thing, that means that the water is pretty healthy if we have animals, and they're eating the bacteria too, so it works both ways. I'm not gonna lie, when it came to studying, I kind of had an issue with it. Like I was able to study, but when it came down to do the tests, I was not getting the highest grades compared to everybody else. And what I really love is, at first I was nervous, like, oh, is this gonna affect my chance of being in this program? But Aaron, Dawn, Jay, and other members of the program, they saw, okay, we probably got to teach them another way. And I realized, okay, so I'm gonna have to put in extra amount of steps, which is okay with me. And we started doing Zoom calls. I started going in extra days. And when they would study with me, we'd do about 2 or 3 hours. And my test scores, they were going up, but not as great as I wanted it to. But that's okay, because we continue to, they continue to work with me. And even after my session was over, I ended up getting an internship at Woodard and Kern, which I'm doing right now. I work at Linden Ponds, which is in Hingham. I absolutely loved it. And if there was any doubt in my mind about getting into this program, that completely went out the window once I got into this internship. It's fun. It's stress-free. Of course, we have incidents. For instance, there was one where I want to say one of the tanks over flooded when we all left, like overnight. So when we got in, there was water mixed with chemicals everywhere. And that would seem stressful. And the 2 people that legitimately work there, One of the name is Dick and the other one is Tom, who is also in the Excel Conservation Corps. He actually got a job. They look stressed out, but I'm kind of smiling like, okay, this is fun. This is fun. It's gonna be a fun day. We had to vacuum out all the water chemicals and then mop it up. So I've had some experiences there, and you know, it's very exciting. It's definitely fun. And even now, I'm still going back to Excel. I'm still studying. Actually, after this, I'm gonna try to make my way over there now. I try to go two to three times a week, and my scores are 10 times better than they were then. So what I also like about this program is, even though I didn't really get the right scores during my session, they didn't give up on me. They saw that I was putting in the effort, and that's what I like. If you put in the effort, they'll put it in 10 times to help you. So I felt confident, and I feel more confident now than ever. So I'm actually planning on taking the test real soon, and they actually cover the first cost for you, which I like. So, you know, I don't have to pay the $80. But I really do love this program. I love what it has to offer. And even when I get my wastewater license, I would like to go back there and do whatever I can to help as well, because they definitely have made me excited for the future.
And where do you see your future? You're interning at Woodard and Kern now. What are you thinking, your steps? What are you interested in?
I'm kind of a traveler. I don't see myself staying in Boston forever, but for, of course, the first few years, I would like to get my level 2, then get up to maybe level 4 or 5, and then I would see myself moving to different states. You know, in Michigan, Flint, Michigan, we all know that there's a huge problem with their waters and stuff like that. And I believe with my skills, it would make sense to go there and, you know, help them out. I also plan on going out of the country, but this is like later on down the line, and bring my talent to other countries as well, you know?
So it's interesting listening to you and listening to Abdullah. I heard confidence.
Yeah.
That it's not that you didn't have ability, there was an issue with confidence. And then when you had the supports of a program and people around you guiding you and helping you, that seemed like it made a big difference for you.
And like, this may seem random, but I've never seen myself having a driver's license. I always lived in the city of Boston. I always just catch the bus, catch the train. I never really thought the need to ever get one. And now that I have one, I can't remember the last time I ever took the bus or train again. But,
So you're one of those.
Yeah, well,
the guy I'm beeping the horn in front of.
And another thing as well, like my mom always had a fear of the highways, so we never really drove on there. So I thought I was going to develop that fear as well. But I love going on a highway to my job, you know. So they
definitely got to get a highway to get to Hingham.
Yeah, definitely.
Well,
that
that
could take you out of your comfort zone, Brandon.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. I guess.
Yes. Well, thank you, Brandon, and to all of our speakers. And with that, Nashayla, if you can end the sharing of the screen, I would like to open it up to Q&A and ask the speakers to put your video back on. And I will just see what questions people are asking. So I see a question from David Wittenberg. How do things like watershed management, agencies like MWRA, et cetera, tie into wastewater treatment and careers? Also, what can you tell us about the enforcement environment part of the job, working with DEP and EPA? I don't want to.
So yeah, this is Dawn. Yeah, source protection is a whole different subject, if you will. It does come under the same umbrella as environmental programs, but you know, like wastewater is one of the factions. Source protection is one of the disciplines that comes under environmental protection.
So I see a question from Mary. What are the starting wages for wastewater treatment careers for someone with a high school diploma or equivalency?
I mean, I would say it varies. I've seen a lot. Some can go, depending on where you are, some can go anywhere from 20 to 25. There was one I saw in Lawrence. They were offering $35 on Indeed for a level 2. That definitely caught my eye.
Yeah.
So it really depends on where you are and what level license you have. But with this job, you're always going to be financially stable, and this job is definitely in demand. So you'll definitely be getting over 20 an hour for sure.
You know, I just want to say, when I first started in the field, I had to pay for my own certification courses, and I had to take it on my own time. But in many cases, and maybe Mark can jump in here, in many cases, the wastewater treatment plants, you know, they'll pay for your certification training, because when you do get a license, and there's a requirement in Massachusetts that you get so many certification credits in a 2-year period. So that's another advantage with getting into the wastewater treatment field today.
I can speak for Lowell. Some of the starting salaries, like in operations, are in the low 50,000s. And there was a question, I think Abdullah asked a question about having to have a license to work in wastewater. And I know in Lowell you don't. We just want a good person. We just want a good, reliable person. We will train you. So you can start in operations or even maintenance without a operator's license or without a hoisting or a CDL license. We want good people, and we will train you. And Dawn brought up a good point. Usually towns pay for the education. It's something people need to take advantage of. You can go to classes, you can get your license, and have the city pay for it for you. And then maintain it. The city will pay to maintain it. So Brandon, if you're interested in jobs,
I was about to say, do you see Brandon's face? Like,
I was watching it when I was talking. I mean, these are the good. It's for pays that start out a little low. These are some of the economic advantages you can have by having the city pay for that education. And I've had some people that actually got their master's degrees paid for by the municipality, as long as their courses were related to the job. They had their courses paid, which is an excellent benefit. Even if you're not interested in college, courses to get your license will be paid for by the city. And that's how it is in Lowell, and I'm pretty sure it's that way in a lot of other municipalities. But you want to take a course, you want to take a class that's related to your job, help you get your license, paid for.
And the other thing too is Mark had talked about the wastewater field being a graying workforce. And Emily, you mentioned that there was one person on the panel that was going to retire. That's me. I told you how I got into the wastewater field. I should have told you how I'm going to exit the wastewater field too. But yeah, I did very much as a graying workforce. And, you know, and the other thing too is, like, you know, wastewater treatment, there's wastewater treatment plants out there. There's the municipal, there's the industrial. It's not like as far as the jobs are concerned, it's not like a industry is going to put up a building in a certain town. There's going to be 200 jobs, you know, but the overall field, okay, is a very, very much graying workforce, and there's going to be a lot of opportunities out there, just as Mark mentioned.
Yeah, and this is Jay. I think, you know, I've been around, I'm working for the government here for 27 years. Mark's been there much longer than that, and Don as well. When you get these city, state, federal jobs, they're really hard to leave, because you've got the benefits there, you've got sick leave, you've got annual leave, you've got life insurance, you've got health insurance. That is hard to come by these days.
What about a pension? Do you get a pension?
And you get a pension. Yes. Yeah, you get a pension. You know, and every city and town is a little bit different. So even after you leave the workforce, after being in there 25, 30 years, whatever it is, they actually still pay you. So it's really a win-win all around. And to Brandon's point about, I was listening to you say you wanted to move around. Wonderful, because you know what? Every city and town virtually across the entire country, in the nation, in the world, has a wastewater treatment plant. Okay, unless you're living in way upstate New Hampshire or the woods of Maine, and even then, we have wastewater treatment plants. When you flush the toilet, it has to go somewhere.
Right.
So the amount of jobs are endless. There's I want to put a plug in the federal jobs. It's at usajobs.gov. Maybe I'll put that into the chat box in a minute. usajobs.gov. That's a federal jobs out there. It's not just EPA, it's federal jobs all around. It could be the Department of Labor, Department of Health, etc. There are many different environmental opportunities out there, various different backgrounds and requirements, etc. But, again, you could basically work anywhere in the country if you took your skills and had to leave or wanted to go for warmer weather, colder weather. I don't know if anybody wants to go for colder weather, but different climate, friends, family across the country for whatever reason. There are many different opportunities, and there's a treatment plant within a stone's throw or wherever you decide to upgrade and move around.
Thank you, Justin. Thank you so much. So I want to turn it over to Brandon and Abdullah. From everything you've heard here, Abdullah, are you now ready to give up computers and move to wastewater?
Computer's still my passion.
Okay, just making sure.
I'll think of some wastewater solutions for y'all, though.
You might be able to work in the SCADA system, Abdullah.
But I am curious if you, from everything you've heard here tonight, as you think about, the journey that you've traveled and other young people, I was about to say kids, but young people that what are the elements that you think would help more people like you find their path?
All right. This was like one of the remarks that I forgot to say when I was up talking, but like equal opportunity does not mean equitable ones, like at all. So being very targeted in the people that you approach and like making sure that the opportunities that are given to everyone are to the people who might not have seen those opportunities or ever even heard about it is definitely like a good start, especially for the people like me around me. To be honest, I didn't know about all the opportunities until this call. And I know if there were programs like this when I was there were programs like this. I just didn't know about them. So
what could have been done? What could have been done so that you or people like you would be more aware of them?
Literally targeting the areas that are either one affected by them and or targeting areas that need to find out about opportunities. So within my neighborhood or within the neighborhoods that are definitely hyper marginalized, those groups would definitely benefit from finding out about education programs, chances to skill up, chances to level up, like Aaron said. And so it's like those things are very important. And I want this to be like the last time opportunity becomes a thing. Like at least my generation, I want like the school to prison pipeline to be completely dismantled by the end of it. My children, my grandchildren, the generations after me should not have to deal with this. And opportunities like this and education is definitely one of the steps to having equitable solutions to dismantling that system. And that's it. That's pretty much all I got from this.
Brandon, what about you?
I think the best place to get this started is in schools. So the last school I went to, Dorchester Academy, the people that were graduating, I would say every week or every other week, they would have different colleges come in or different, I don't even think we've had programs like this come in. I believe the Army came in one time. This would have definitely been a great thing to go to the school, talk to the kids. And I definitely think that this would have gotten a lot of people interested in, I think we should bring this to different community centers. I'm thinking teen jobs as well. Like, for instance, people that work regular jobs, I'll say TJ Maxx, Stop and Shop, I'm sure that those managers know that the kids are trying to, probably go somewhere else further in life. So they can maybe hang this up in the bulletin boards in the break rooms or something. But I think maybe reaching out to places like those where we would find teens,
And Charlotte, from what you heard, do you think that there you had said that environmental jobs were part of the P-TECH program. Would it go so far as like water and wastewater jobs? Not that it has to, but when, what sort of environmental jobs, are part of the program already?
Yeah, actually, water, we have a couple water partnerships internationally, not so much in the US. There's one in Texas that I looked at before this call, before this panel, but a lot of it is in green energy sort of stuff, or like the future of environmental science. There's also like life sciences. I mean, the STEM umbrella includes science, right? So I think anything that fits in there, which is a lot of what we've talked about today, would be, well suited to the PTech model and mission. I think a lot of it is that the PTech model incorporates that associates in applied science degree. So there would need to be a pathway that exists with community colleges or junior colleges for students to go through that would lead to a position at one of these organizations or at a company that does this kind of work. I think that what's really great about all of these roles, from what Erin said, what Don, Justin, and Mark all shared, and then obviously Brendan's experience has been that there's a lot of growth opportunity. And I think that that's really kind of the most important part about a lot of our entry-level positions that we're making sure our students or graduates have, is that we really want to make sure that students and graduates are leaving and going into a position that's going to be the first stop of their long career and their long journey and their continuous learning. And I think as long as there's sort of an opportunity, like Mark even mentioned, potentially getting your master's, I mean, if you can earn and learn, I mean, I think that's, a wonderful opportunity. We want to make sure that graduates just have a lot of choice and autonomy sort of what their future holds. And I think that this aligns well.
Brandon?
Yeah, I was also going to say, and the greatest thing about this field, about wastewater, is even though it's a great thing to do, you don't have to do that as well. There's other things. So for instance, I think is that his name? Abdullah, you say you were interested in computers. There's a lot of things to do in computers within our field, especially like at Woodard and Kerr and stuff like that. There's HR department. There's so much that you can do in the field. And I mean, I don't plan on going back to school, but I always said if I did, I would love to do something in the office, like HR department and stuff like that, or be a recruiter. So you can find different positions to do in this field that I think would be pretty amazing.
I see one last question that I had not gotten to. Robert asked, what does a day-to-day working at a treatment plant look like? Quicksand?
Honestly, it's very relaxing. Well, actually, no, I'll take that back, because the only downside, I gotta be up by like 4. I'm on a highway around 5, and I try to be there by 6. And then where I work at, it's kind of in the, I wouldn't say countryside, but definitely suburbs. So I get scared because it's pitch black, and I know that there's deers and stuff. So that's my main fear. Get over that. I go in and I eat my breakfast, and then I just get started on the labs. The labs take about 20 minutes to do. And maybe because of me right now, because I'm an internship, I don't have much pressure, because the main thing I'm doing is studying. But when I'm not studying, we're basically just doing labs, I always said that when I first started this internship, it kind of reminded me of like a fire station. I don't know if you noticed, how it's like, there's like not couches, but like it's just a relaxed place. You sit down, you do the work. Like I said, it's tense, but not too tense. Like it's a good amount of tense. You know what I'm saying? But
always got the saying from people in the industry that you have more good days than you have bad days.
Yeah.
When you get the bad days, they are bad.
I will say one thing about this field is you really want to be good. You don't want to mess up on anything. There was one mess up I did. We were supposed to, usually every day when we're finished with our samples, we're supposed to throw them away, like dump the water out. But I believe they were saving it to send it to like, I don't know. The government likes to keep track of what they're doing. So every other week they have to send it out. And I almost threw it away. So that was kind of scary. But for the most part, it's just doing labs. If there's not really much to do, just tidy up around the place. That's why I said it reminds me like a firehouse, because it's like you're basically waiting until something happens, and then that's when you really have to put in the work. But you're mainly just doing the labs, which is pretty cool.
So the work can be very varied day to day. If it's raining, Sometimes there's a lot of more water coming through the treatment plant. So some of your processes get affected. So like Brandon said, you'd be doing some more sampling. Also, you'd be running some equipment, dewatering sludge. So you may be running a belt filter press or a centrifuge, which basically takes water out of sludge, which is a pretty complicated piece of equipment. It's something that takes some good training to do. You could be, as Brandon said, doing some cleanup work. You could be helping maintenance. You could be helping the lab. You could be helping engineering. So it's your work day is varied, especially at the larger plants. There's always things going on that need to be done. Pumps that need to be started and stopped at certain times. Chemicals that need to be checked, need to be added. So checklist to make sure that everything's going well. And microscopic examination and some of the lab tests that the laboratory people don't do, but operators do, to check on the process to make sure that everything's going good. So you'd have a varied day. It's not the same thing day after day after day.
Can I add too? I worked during the plant startup at this was back in 1977 at the Greater Lawrence Sanitary District, and the challenge there was the equipment was sitting idle for 2 years. Okay, this is a 60 MGD plant. Okay, a very, very big plant. And of course, the fact that the equipment was sitting there idle for that long, when we went to start it up, a lot of things didn't work the way they were supposed to. And I mean, it was very, very challenging. It was very, very tiring, but we got through it. And these plants are very, very large. There's a lot of equipment there. And, and I always say too, that sometimes we learn a lot more when things don't go correctly, and it was a good experience for me, for my career. I wouldn't want to have to do it again. But, as Mark said, no 2 days are the same in a wastewater treatment plant. And that's one thing that I like about it. It's a challenge, and I think it's a very, very worthwhile career.
That is a great, oh, go ahead.
Just to back up, there was a question about how the watersheds really help with the training in the career. And I know for me, we've had some great partners like Charles River, Mystic River, Neponset River, watersheds. They all end with watershed, okay? And they've been a good intermediary between the higher ups, the employers, and then the people on the ground doing the job. And then they've been a great onboarding to this whole industry, and coming back to relating it back to the community, and then taking it back to the employers, and then taking it back to the government. It's I think they're the greatest middleman I've ever met in an industry that actually does something. So it's I feel with the watersheds, they're that perfect glue, It's if you eat it, it won't make you sick,
Well, and I would like us to be doing more. So, but I'm very cognizant of the time, 7:35, we're a little over. I just want to thank all of our attendees, but especially all of our speakers for making time on a Monday night for this incredibly important discussion. It sounds like there are a lot of things we could be doing here in the Commonwealth to expand access to some great careers protecting the environment, and I'm interested to see what we can do to do that. So thank you all. We've recorded this. We will be sharing the recording, and we will be sharing the slides, and look forward to continuing this conversation with all of you.